Kia ora te whānau, thank you very much for tuning in today for another episode with the Aquarium project. I really appreciate all the support, so if you haven't already, please make sure to like and subscribe. Little Baisha man has asked you very nicely. Oh, he's gone in my ear. But yeah, thank you very much, I really appreciate it. But yeah, aside from that, let's get into it. I wanted to just show you something quickly first before we get into the main topic for today's video. So, just yesterday, I actually cleaned the impeller on this FX6, and look how freaking strong that flow is. It was like, when it was coming out before, it wasn't even reaching it to the top, so probably I should have done. I'm not gonna lie, it's been a while, and there was like some trumpet snails and random bits of crud stuck in the impeller, so I probably should have cleaned it before yesterday, but hey, better late than never. So that's my flow. This tank is looking very, very clear. Unfortunately, it doesn't help at all with all the glare. Hey, that's me. But yeah, it is looking very nice. So that's something cool for you guys to come and have a look at next time you're in. But aside from that, let's get into the main topic of today's video. The main thing I wanted to talk about today was these guys. So a lot of you will have seen them here in the shop. We've had this particular group for a wee while. That has a little story behind it. But these are, if you're not aware, these are Nimbochromis Livingstonii, or Livingstonii. So they're a predator hap from Lake Malawi. And I think they're a bit of a problematic type of fish, particularly for New Zealand. I'm not going to say globally, but some of the specific parameters we have around the area in New Zealand is why I think there is some problems when it comes to these guys. So what I'm going to do basically is I'm going to give you guys a bit of an overall care picture to begin with, and then once we've established that kind of background, I'm going to go into some of the more specific things of why they might be problematic, what kind of issues we often see with them, and all that kind of stuff. But first, I'm probably going to chuck some food in so you guys can watch them eat while we talk about them, because that'll be a lot more fun, basically. So, this is just a bunch of random pellets here that we're going to chuck in. So, we'll chuck them in up here. And watch them go to town on them, basically. But with the Livingstonii, they're really popular, probably one of the most popular predator haps. Particularly the males, but even the females, when they get big, are just so stunning. So the females will keep this kind of blotchy camo type of color, you know, where they've got this brown and black pattern, and then the males will get a lot of blue through them, like bluish kind of, really almost green, I'd say, like really light blue. And then they get the black and the orange and all that other stuff through them, but they are a very, very cool fish. The thing with them though is being what we call a predator hap, they get very large. What I would suggest would be a minimum tank size for these guys is I wouldn't keep them in anything smaller than a 6-foot aquarium. So that would be like 180 centimeters long. You could do like the US 125 gallon tanks. That's like 6 foot long by I think 1.5 foot deep and 1.5 foot tall. Or you do the 6 foot long 2 foot by 2 foot tanks. 180 centimeters by 60 centimeters by 60 centimeters. I really wouldn't keep them in any smaller of a tank. They do get very large. The other thing with them as well is if we look closely, I'm not too sure if we'll be able to see it, but they have a way larger mouth to body ratio than a lot of other fish, if that makes sense. Like when they get big, their mouth just gets absolutely massive. And this is perfect for them in the wild, because what they do in the wild is predator hap, they eat stuff. So they eat a lot of mbunas and that. But in the aquarium environment, they'll basically eat anything. Like, if it can physically fit in their mouth, and potentially even if it can't, they will swallow it. They're really good at eating stuff. So the problem a lot of people run into is, you know, you keep them with some smaller peacocks and that, you will just have a fat Livingstonii if you catch my drift. But yeah, that's probably the main trouble that we run into with them. In terms of diet, of course, you want to feed them high protein stuff. Like they will, as we've seen here, readily eat pellets. I feed these guys a lot of rapashi. The rapashi grub pie formula is the one I feed these guys. So it's a contentious subject, and I've talked about it quite a bit before. Feed a fish. Most fish aren't going to eat feeders because they're not designed to. They're designed to eat more insects. Livingstonii, you can do feeders. Do small stuff that they'll eat in one gulp. So something like a guppy, if you want to do feeders, if you're that way inclined, breed them yourself, and you can do, chuck a bunch of guppies in there, and they'll be good feeders. As we've discussed before, for fish like Oscars and that, you want to do more. If you want to do live stuff, do earthworms and that. Actually, these guys will eat earthworms as well. Like they're not gonna have any harm from eating. Like chuck an earthworm in and it will disappear in like half a second. But yeah, there'll be some good options for these guys. I did kind of mention before that these are a bit of a problematic fish in the New Zealand context, and so I wanted to maybe dive a little bit deeper into that and discuss a bit of why I'm saying that, what I mean by that, and yeah, but I do want to preface this by saying they are really fantastic fish. Like, I love them so much. They're so cool. They just are. The problem with them, big. They are very big. You need a big aquarium for them. Obviously, they're a bit boisterous. As we discussed, they will eat stuff. If it can fit in their mouth, they're going to eat it. So that's obviously not an ideal situation. But yeah, they are very pretty fish. I would keep them just like a big colony of them, like males and females, and just keep a big colony with some, like a common pleco and nothing else, and I think it'll make a really effective display. The problem with them is a lot of the times with this kind of fish, what you'd want to do is keep what they call predator Hap Tag. So, for example, you could keep Livingstonii with... what's some good examples? You can keep them with big eye biters that we get. You could keep them with the Malawi trout, Malawi sand divers, all that kind of thing. The problem in the New Zealand context is we don't get a lot of those things. Livingstonii is, for the most part, the only readily available predator hap we get, I think, unless I'm missing something obvious. But for the most part, they're the only readily available predator hap that we'd have available. And that does suck, because what often ends up happening then is it's, oh yeah, I'll just keep them with some peacocks or something. Keep them with peacocks, even keep them with mbuna. And that might be fine at this size, but what happens is the Livingstonii will just get huge, and they'll get huge fast. And when they do that, they will just eat everything. Like, you put an OB peacock that's a bit smaller than them, gone. You chuck a Dragon's Blood, chuck Eureka Red, Otter Point, Electric Blue Freyri, whatever. If they're not big when you put them in, like big, like adult size, they will get eaten. And it does suck because, like, as I said, I don't want to kind of scare people off Livingstonii. I think they're a really, really cool fish to keep, and they're a really pretty fish, but they do just eat everything. So as I said before, I think with them, the best possible solution to this problem is just keep a big group of them for yourself, and just keep Livingstonii, keep a pleco, keep, what else was I going to say? Oh, potentially some of the Synodontis species would be right, but not any other African cichlids, because you will get a lot more out of them. You could mix them with, like, in New Zealand at least, if you did want to mix them with other stuff, things like big blue dolphins, big eye biters. You can do the OB eye biters if you like that color. The fuscos, if you can find fuscos, even though they're pretty similar. Any of those other real big haps, that will be the kind of stuff you'll want to mix them with. But very limited options, and a lot of what you'll see overseas of keeping them with things like the Malawi trout and that isn't available, at least as far as readily available in New Zealand. And I think it is a shame. And it does mean you do see a lot of mistreated Livingstonii. You'll see a lot of them in 4-foot tanks, which is not big enough, like what would that be, 300 to 400 litre tank. Unfortunately, that's not going to be big enough, so you see them in the tank too small. You see them, it's probably not the worst thing for them. I mean, they'll be happy, but like if you keep them with a bunch of Demisoni, you are going to lose them all. They will just get eaten. Of course, the Livingstonii is probably going to enjoy that, but in terms of keeping a healthy aquarium in a more general sense and a happy aquarium in a more general sense, probably that's not going to be the best option. So I think another thing as well is if you're breeding African cichlids, you got maybe 5 colonies of stuff. They're a good one to keep around. Keep a big tank, keep a group of them around. because they are obviously eating stuff is a good way to dispose of your culls. So we've talked about culls before. When you're breeding, you have to get rid of the deformed ones and that, because it is a quality control thing. And having them eaten by a bigger fish is by far the most humane option. So if you have like a real tiny, like, you know, a 3 centimeter OB peacock with a deformed face, chuck it in with a bunch of like big adult Livingstonii, and it will be gone in 5 seconds, and it'll be humanely put down, and you know the Livingstonii will enjoy it again. Being predator haps, they are better. They're good for eating other fish, and they're designed to eat other fish if you want to go the feeder fish route. Not, again, things like an Oscar, arowana, all this kind of thing. Not so much designed for it. But to summarize, I don't want to scare anyone off keeping them, because I think they are a really fantastic fish to keep, and I think a really rewarding fish to keep. They're a lot of fun. It's like a bunch of piranhas. You know, they'll snap at the surface real hard, like they hit food hard on the surface of the water. They look very pretty. I mean, these ones, you can see a couple of males starting to color up, but nothing like an adult coloration just yet, not even close. They look pretty, and yeah, I think they're a really cool fish. I think they're one that we need to be a bit careful about, and maybe make sure we keep them in the suitable situation, and not just chuck them in a mixed Malawi tank and have them kill everything. So yeah, that's kind of a bit of a crash course on the Nimbochromis Livingstonii for you. But yeah, I think they are really cool fish, really worthwhile to keep if you've got a big tank, got some room, even a pond. There'll be a good one in an indoor pond. I think that'd be a really good option for that kind of environment. But yeah, I hope it gives you a little bit more information to kind of approach this subject. You might be able to make a bit more of an informed decision, whether you have the right environment and you've got the right space for them. But yeah, thank you guys very much for watching. If you have any questions about it, of course, feel free to drop them down below. I'll keep an eye out for them. But yeah, if you haven't already, make sure to like and subscribe. I love you all so much, and we'll see you in the next one. Bye.